guys, welcome back to Redneck Les. Today I want to do another awareness video on domestic violence and domestic violence in the LGBTQ plus community. I have a personal story with domestic violence, and also I'm going to share some statistics, and in the description box below will be some hotlines on where to reach out for help if you are in an abusive relationship. I'm also going to share some pictures in this video that may be disturbing to some, so please just be warned that it might be triggering, and part of my story may be triggering as well, just for those of you that may need that. So let's get into it. Back in 2013, my girlfriend and I had split up. We had a off again, on again relationship, with verbal abuse and mental abuse, and at the time I didn't realize it, because I didn't know what to look for. After we split up, we continued to live together because neither one of us could afford their own place, and we had a rent-controlled apartment in both of our names, so we just continued to live together. It started getting more and more physical. And then one night, I forget what we were arguing about, but I had just bought her a bunch of stuff. And I felt used, so I said, you know what? You don't need any of this. I'm going to take it back. So I tried to take back the boots I bought and socks and other stuff I had bought her. And she became violent. Punching me, kicking me. She choked me to the point I almost passed out. I was starting to turn blue. And a former friend of ours was there and pulled her off of me. It didn't stop the attack. She used an ashtray and started hitting me around the head with it. I had a very bad black eye. I had goose eggs all over my head. I did have blood coming out of my ears. I had memory loss for like a week or two after. But I still went back. And it just kept getting worse and getting worse and getting worse. And we argued about plates another night. And she threw a chair at me. Put a big bruise on my arm. I put up with it for 2 years. And I was arguing with her girlfriend at the time overnight about allowing family to stay at my personal home where we had moved to. She threatened to wreck my car that she was driving. So finally I got her to pull over, and I got out because I knew what it was going to be. And she threw me to the ground, put her knee on my jaw, right here on the corner of my jaw. I had already had lockjaw from a former dental procedure that had started to go away, and she flared it back up with putting her knee on my jaw, and proceeded to beat me around the head. She ripped my shirt. She broke a necklace I had on, stuff like that. I managed to get her off of me. I didn't lay a hand on her. 9 times out of 10, I didn't even defend myself in these altercations because I knew it would just make it worse. So finally I get my car keys from her and drive home, and I decided to call the sheriff. Sheriff comes out. By the time she gets home, she has marks and scrapes and cuts on her as well. I don't know how she got them because, like I said, I didn't put my hands on her. So the cop proceeds to arrest us both for domestic violence, and we're both booked in and arraigned. The charges ended up being dropped, but I do still have that on my record. Just being open with y'all. But as part of us being released, we had a no contact order, so she had to move, thankfully. So that's how I ended up getting away from her and starting my life over and stuff like that. So, I mean, it can happen to anybody. I mean, people have told me, you don't look like the type that it would happen to. which in reality I freeze in those kinds of situations. It's hard to remember. It's hard to think about. It's hard to bring it back up in memory and whatnot. But it does need talked about. I managed to get away. It took time for me to open my eyes and realize what was going on, because I still was deeply in love with her at the time. And I mean, it's difficult. And don't feel bad if you haven't left your situation yet, because it is difficult, but you can do it. Um, I'll put resources in the description box below if you do want to get out, that could possibly help you. Um, so yeah, that's my story. Um, and some unknown statistics about LGBTQ plus domestic violence that nobody realizes. Let's go see here. 43.8% of lesbian women and 61.1% of bisexual women who have experienced rape, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner at some point in their lives, as opposed to 35% of heterosexual men. 26% of gay men and 37.3% of bisexual men have experienced rape, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime, compared to 29% of heterosexual men. So the actual rate of domestic violence in same-sex or bisexual relationships is either the same or higher than our heterosexual counterparts, which was surprising to me because you really don't hear that much about it. And I'll get into that in just a minute as well. In 2012, fewer than 5% of LGBTQ plus survivors of intimate partner violence sought orders of protection. Transgender victims are more likely to have intimate partner violence in public than their non-trans counterparts. Bisexual victims are more likely to experience sexual violence compared to those who are not bisexual. LGBTQ plus victims on public assistance are more likely to experience intimate partner violence than those who are not on public assistance. I do want to touch on that because when I went through my situation, we were on public assistance and money was really tight. We really didn't have anywhere else to go. So, we kind of had to live with each other to put up with the situation, so it did compound it. So, when you're on a limited income, it is harder to get away because it costs more to start over somewhere else and whatnot. So, I mean, I can understand how that is an actual statistic. Types of domestic violence affecting the LGBTQ plus community. 20% of victims have experienced some sort of physical violence. 16% have been victims of intimidation and or threats. 15% have been verbally abused. 4% of survivors have experienced sexual violence. And 11% of intimate violence cases reported in the 2015 report involved a weapon. 11% of them involved a weapon of some sort, which I never realized, which makes sense. Some unique elements of abuse in the LGBTQ plus community. There are many different kinds of intimate partner violence, which can be unique to the LGBTQ plus community. One such way is called outing, which is threatening to reveal one's sexual orientation and or gender identity. This is used a lot of times in violent situations where the victim may want to escape, especially if they aren't out. Especially in areas where it isn't openly or widely accepted, which provides a barrier for those wanting to seek help. Also, previous experiences with physical or psychological trauma, such as bullying and hate crime, may make victims of domestic violence less likely to seek help. And outing, it can be very dangerous, especially if your family, community is very homophobic and you stay in the closet for your own safety. So if somebody outs you, that could be putting your life in danger more so than your partner putting your life in danger. Some barriers to seeking services or help. Societal beliefs that domestic violence does not occur in LGBTQ plus relationships. Potential homophobia from staff of service providers or from non-LGBTQ plus domestic violence victims they come in contact with. Lack of appropriate training in regards to LGBTQ plus domestic violence for service providers like police, social services, adult protective services, etc. A fear that airing problems among the LGBTQ plus population will take away from progress towards equality or fuel anti-LGBTQ plus bias. Domestic violence shelters are typically female only, and trans people may be denied entrance due to their gender, or legal status. And another barrier, like I said before, is the dangers of outing oneself and risking rejection from family, friends, and society. So, there's that. Lack of survivors being unaware of LGBTQ plus friendly assistance resources. Low levels of confidence in the effectiveness of the legal system for the LGBTQ plus people. One of the myths surrounding domestic violence in the LGBTQ plus community, the myth is incidents of domestic violence are less severe in the community and their relationships than their straight counterparts. The truth, the abuse experienced by LGBTQ plus individuals can be equally or more damaging. Studies show that gay men and bi women are more likely to experience severe physical violence than their straight counterparts, including being burned, beaten, or choked. So yeah, those are some statistics on LGBTQ plus domestic violence. If you want to share your personal story, please feel free to comment below. I'm going to put some resources in the description box below. Just felt like this needed to be talked about, but thank you for watching. Please share this with friends, family members, people of your community, so that we can get the word out about this. So, thank you for watching. You are loved, even if it's just by me. And live your truth, live your authentic life. Peace, love, and chicken nugs, y'all. We'll see you next week. Deuces.